Much. Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly, who caused quite a stir for suggesting that Santa and Jesus were white, is taking on her critics. She insisted on her show Friday that the whole controversy was motivated by race baiting and because she works at Fox.
Well, this would be funny if it were not so telling about our society, in particular the knee-jerk instinct by so many to race bait and to assume the worst in people, especially people employed by the very powerful Fox News channel. Contrary to what my critics have posited, neither my statement nor Harris's, I'm sure, was motivated by any racial fear or loathing. In fact, it was something far less sinister. From Miracle on 34th Street to the Thanksgiving Day Parade to the National Christmas Tree lighting, we continually see St. Nick as a white man in modern-day America.
So did Kelly need to apologize, or does she have a point? Here to talk about it, radio talk show host Mel Robbins, author Tim Wise, and filmmaker Rochelle Oliver. Thanks one and all for being here. Mel, I'll start with you. Did Megyn Kelly go far enough to silence her critics?
I personally don't even think she needed to apologize. And one of the reasons why is I think she's right. I think that this was about race baiting. She was clearly talking about the representation of Santa Claus in popular culture. And here's one of the things, Jake, that I found to be profoundly sad about this entire story is that everybody missed the point. The point is that Santa, if you believe in him, which many of us do, is a function of what you grew up with. And so she was talking about the Santa that not only do we see in popular culture, but also the one that showed up in her household. So I don't even think she needed to apologize. For the Jesus comment, because she was wrong, Santa problem, no way.
And Mel, just to follow up, you think the bigger issue here is that people are insecure about their race, so much so that a joke would set them off. Explain what you mean.
Well, here's the thing, Jake, is that if you have a belief and you have faith in something, whether it's you believe in Santa or you believe in a certain religion, belief is anchored inside you. So it's very sad that a news host could say something about her belief and it rocks your world. That tells me that you don't have very firm convictions if you're offended by what somebody on television says about something you believe in.
Tim, please. Both Tim and Rochelle are shaking their heads. Tim, go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, a Dartmouth graduate just said she believes in Santa. That's number one. Number two, and perhaps the more important point, Megyn Kelly did not say, this is my Santa.
I happen to have
this is
kids
my
at
belief.
home
She
who are
said,
watching.
hold on a minute. Wait, let me finish.
Mel,
this is not one of your TED Talks. Let me finish my comment.
Yeah, let him finish.
What Megyn Kelly said was very simply, quote, Santa is white, end of quote, and so is Jesus. So I think the real issue is, if you want to make a joke about Santa's whiteness, here's a way to do it that would not presume white normalcy or that white is the norm. You could say, for instance, and I would, that if there were Santa, he'd have to be white because no black man could break into millions of homes, even if he was bearing presents, and not be shot by some neighborhood watch captain. That's a way to be funny, but Fox News would never do that because that would presume that they had to admit racial profiling and racism were real. So there's that. I think the real issue is that she made a statement of fact, not for her own opinion, but fact. There's a difference between believing in Santa and believing in Jesus or the Buddha. Buddha did not come from Kansas. Jesus was not born in a manger in central Pennsylvania. He was a man of color, and the fact that we have represented him for centuries, literally as a white man, speaks to the entire history of white supremacy. We can act like it didn't happen. We can make it the punchline of a joke, but the reality is this iconography, Jesus more so than Santa, I agree with Mel here, Jesus more so than Santa is a real problem. There's a reason we've represented these icons as white. It's not a coincidence that we've done that.
Okay, Rochelle, I want you to respond to the points being made. I would like to say also that many cultures throughout the world represent Jesus and Santa as their own culture, whether it's Latinos or African Americans or Africans or whites.
Exactly.
But Rochelle, please weigh in.
Well, Megyn Kelly did say that Santa is just white. She was very clear about that. And the fact is, where you can talk about that this is Santa and this is a fictitious character, but the real issue here is that people who think like Megyn Kelly believe it's more comfortable for them to believe that there's a white man flying around the earth with magical reindeer than to believe that a black man in the year 2013 can actually be kind, can be loving, and can actually be caring toward children. That's really the issue here. Not only do we need to see black Santas, but big ups to my Jamaican Santas, sapase to my Haitian Santas, and you know what, que te pasando to my my Cuban Santas, because I'm in Miami and every corner reflects the community. And you know how the characters of kindness and love and caring are not exclusive to the right race, and that's what was wrong with what Megyn Kelly says. And she didn't apologize for that. She merely defended her point.
Mel, lots to unpack there. Go ahead.
I mean, I think it's absolutely absurd where you guys are taking this. Absolutely absurd. Why aren't you guys complaining about the fact that Harris said that Santa should become a penguin, which would traumatize children everywhere that think he's a human being? I mean, this has gotten to be so blown out of control.
Would traumatize children? A penguin would traumatize children? Would the Lion King traumatize children? I mean, my goodness. I mean,
let me ask you a question.
She didn't.
You know, we can talk about a penguin, but here's a simple historical fact. It's a lot more important than speculation about what a penguin would do to children. Here's the reality. The image of a white Jesus has been used to justify enslavement, conquest, colonialism, the genocide of indigenous peoples. There are literally millions of human beings whose lives have been snuffed out by people who conquered under the banner of a white god. That is a far more significant problem than whether a black writer in 2013 suggests somewhat humorously, but perhaps seriously, that we should change Santa to a penguin.
Tim,
no one's going to die because of that iconography. The white Jesus, white God imagery has literally resulted in death. That's something folks ought to deal with.
Tim, without defending...
Wow, I can't imagine Christmas morning at your house, Tim.
Tim, without defending genocide.
Well, I'm Jewish, so, you know,
sounds great. Tim, I'll go. It sounds awesome.
Without defending genocide, let me just ask you to... I read something interesting in an interview with the scholar Reza Aslan, who is, I think it's fair to say, not a conservative. And his argument in an interview the Washington Post ran with him was that Jesus was from Galilee and probably looked like a Palestinian Jew, but Christ is what we make of him, and that if there are Asians who are Christians, they worship an Asian Christ. Same thing with South Americans. Same thing with whites.
Right.
Do you think there's something inherently wrong? I understand you're saying that a white Jesus has been used to do horrible things, but
here's the difference. And Reza is right. No, Reza's right, but the difference is that the power of others to make Jesus or to make Christ as they view him has never come close to the power of the European power to make Jesus white. In other words, black folks can think Jesus is black and view Christ as black, but at the end of the day, the image that has been used to dominate Christianity in this world and on this planet is the white image. So therefore, you can believe, you can think Jesus looks like whatever you want or that Christ looks like whatever you want. Ultimately, though, there is such a thing as power, and it's not equitable. And so if certain people have been able to impose their image of the Christ, of the Savior on others, or God, or Adam and Eve, the first human beings ostensibly as white people, to believe that that doesn't have an effect is to believe that advertising doesn't have an effect. It's to believe that companies that spend billions of dollars don't actually sell you stuff based on the images they use, which is nonsense.
Well, allow me to say, as I bid you farewell, Merry Christmas to one and all. Dartmouth's own Mel Robbins, Tim Wise, Rochelle Oliver, thank you so much.